Hello, it's me, Mike, with HPDS. I'm going to go ahead and get into Genesis 23. This will be a study in Genesis 23. And before I get started, of course, I'll say the Lord's Prayer. Look, my hair, I can see my hair all. My Father who is in heaven, hallowed be thy name. May your kingdom come and may your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Please give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our debt as we forgive those in debt to us. And Lord, lead us not into temptation, but instead deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom of power and glory, Lord, forever and ever. Amen. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read through Genesis 23. And before I get started on reading through Genesis 23, what I would like to do before that is go ahead and give a little outline of 23. Let's see. So 22 we learned was when God told Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. And it didn't happen because God was making a real statement about what kind of person, what kind of God he is. But moving into Genesis 23, we're going to see the age and the death of Sarah. So we're going to see Sarah dies. And we're going to see the purchase of Machpelah, where Sarah is buried. So she's going to be buried, and Abraham's going to go through some issues while he's obviously very sad and very distraught, I guess, at this point about Sarah passing away. But he is going to bury her, and that's what we're going to see in Genesis 23. It's also kind of a short one, only 20 verses long. But let me go ahead and get started reading it. And I will bring up Genesis 23 right now. Here it is, Genesis 23. And it reads, "And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. These are the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kirjatharba, the same as Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my lord, thou art a mighty prince among us. And the choice of our sepulchres bury thy deed. In the choice of our sepulchres bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. And he communed with them, saying, If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me, and entreat for me to Ephron, the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he hath, which is in the end of his field, for as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for possession of a burying place amongst you. And Ephron dwelt among the children of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went in at the gate of his city, saying, Nay, my lord, hear me, the field give I thee, and the cave that is therein I give it thee. In the presence of the sons of my people give it I thee. Bury thy dead. And Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land, and he spake unto Ephron in the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if thou wilt give it, I pray thee, hear me. I will give thee money for the field. Take it of me, and I will bury my dead there. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying unto him, My lord, hearken unto me, the land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that betwixt me and thee? Bury therefore thy dead. And Abraham hearkened unto Ephron, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver, which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant. And the field of Ephron, which is in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field and the cave which was therein, and all the trees that were in the field that were in the borders round about were made sure unto Abraham for possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went in at the gate of his city. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, the same is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And the field and the cave that is therein were made sure unto Abraham for possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth. So that's Genesis 23. And let me see if I can't find any more of these maps. He in Hebron, so he was in that same kind of place that he's been at around Hebron. And let's see, let me go ahead and take some more looks. Sarah died in Kirjath Arba, the same as Hebron. So it probably was a little town in this valley, this little plains of Mamre, which is we're told is the plains of Mamre. So it's in the plains, and there's this little town called Kirth Jabbar, and that's where she dies. And how old was she? Let me go into this, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'll go into this. Is probably going to be a short chapter anyway, a short video. Let's see. Okay, I got that. There it is. So she died in this place called Kirthajarba. Let me, I like to search Google, see if I can't find that. Kirthajar, meaning and definition. Let's see, we've got these topical, we got these place, Web Bible. Kiryat Arba, the original name of Hebron, so called from the name of its founder, one of the Anakim. So he's with these Anakims, remember that. It was given to Caleb, the city of the four, i.e. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Adam, who were all, as they allege, buried there. Oh, look, so this is telling us that as far as the Jews concerned, they say that Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Adam were all buried there in Hebron. That's why they're Hebrews. Let's see, let's take a look at Kirth Jarba. Let's see the original name of Hebron. So you see what I'm saying? So these people, it's widely said that this place is where even Abraham was, but obviously here's his wife being buried there now. Topical Bible. Let's see. The idea is constantly asserted. The identity of Kirjath Arba with Hebron is constantly asserted. So they're saying it's the same. So that's what is the same is in the. So this town, that's where she died, in Hebron. And Abram came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. So remember, it had said that at the time he was out there in Beersheba. So he was probably out here in Beersheba, which doesn't, like I said, you see that they were kind of separated oftentimes, these men, the men and the women. So it's not like today's day where, a man goes to work and he comes home every night and he comes home to stay with his wife and children. That's what we kind of live in, this society that tells us that that's the way it is. That's not necessarily the case with these people. He would go off somewhere and she was probably still staying where she stayed because obviously she's a woman and so forth. And it's not like she was trying to get out there and build nations like Abraham was doing. Abraham was out there building stuff. He dug that well. He had people to look after, and she probably had people to look after as well, but she was more living in the home, taking care of the homestead, and he was out there, with his people, doing things that his people needed, as kind of like acting like a king, like I said. So he comes home to mourn for her and to weep for her, and it's obviously a very sad thing. But what I want to make sure one more time is that she's only 127 years old. And what did we hear in Genesis 6 when God said, what was it, Genesis 6:4 or something like that? God was going to limit our life to 120 years old. And here's the closest to that number that we get so far was Sarah. As far as we know, out of all the people that were named and all the people that had died in their ages, so far, basically, she's the youngest one out of them all. She died at 127 years old. She was really, really young, comparatively speaking. At this point, Shem was probably still alive. Like I have mentioned before, Shem was still alive. He was alive up to 502 years after the flood. And based off of the numbers that I calculated, we're probably about not even 400 years. Actually about 420 years, just about. About 420 years or so out after the flood is when this is happening. So once again, God's promise that he would not strive with man forever is coming to fruition. Here it is coming to fruition. Sarah died, and that's why when she laughed, when she was told that Isaac was going to be born. I mean, that's what she's laughing at. She was laughing at the fact that, wow, I can't believe I'm so old. And the reality was that she was still very, very young. But the humans themselves had no idea that, or most of them didn't have any idea that God was reducing their lifespans. And so God even told Abraham, "You're gonna die in a good old age. You're gonna be an old man when you die." And we'll see that Abraham lives quite a bit longer from this. But Sarah here is dying at an age 127 years old. Out of all the patriarchs and she's pretty much the youngest person to die, as far as we're concerned. She's just really young, 127. And so of course, it's a big deal. Abraham really comes and he mourns for her. It's a sad loss. It's a huge deal. He's crying. He's sad. It's everybody in the country at the time. Everybody in the land of Canaan knew about Abraham and Sarah. They were both famous people by this point. They'd lived long, good lives. They'd been in the land for going on. They showed up when they were 75 years old. So she's 127. So she's basically about 52 years later. So she was in the land of Canaan for just about 50 years when she finally died. And so in that 50 years, she made a huge name for herself too. I mean, when you got to think about what happened here is that pretty much the reason why they were so rich. I mean, outside of God made them rich, of course, but God definitely used Sarah to get them rich. Sarah made a lot of money. Sarah was, in her own right, she was a beautiful woman. God had made her very beautiful, and everybody was disposed of just, hey, she's so beautiful, let's just give them stuff. That's what kind of life she was living kind of out there in Canaan. These people thought she was so beautiful that they all just had to give her stuff. They just were giving her stuff, giving her and Abraham stuff because of how pretty she was, how beautiful she was. But of course, here Abraham is after she's dead and after she's passed away, and he's mourning in front of everybody. Comes together. There's a huge congregation. He speaks to the son of Heth. So these people of Heth, I'm sure somewhere down the line, let me see if we can't find Heth's name here. He would have been out in the Canaanites somewhere, right? There he is. The Hittites. He's one of the sons of Canaan. Heth, Hittites. He was one of the Hittites right here. The sons of Heth is who he's talking to. So he's talking to those people. And he tells them outright, you all know that I'm just a foreigner. I'm living here with you as a sojourner. And a sojourner is somebody that is traveling, obviously. Somebody who's gone out and he's a sojourner. So, just for the sake of it, I'm going to go ahead and sojourn definition. A temporary stay somewhere temporarily. So that's what he's saying. I'm only temporarily here as an immigrant. And he says, since I'm here, will somebody please sell me something to inherit? He's going to inherit something. Finally, this is his first piece of property that he's owned. He hasn't owned any property now. First piece of property he owns is going to be a sepulcher, which is basically a cave that he's going to use to bury his dead. And that's his first piece of property on the land. So you see what God is kind of showing here, that he's a proper immigrant, that he doesn't own any land while he's an immigrant. And he doesn't really become a citizen until he loses someone very important in that land. He loses his wife. His wife dies there and he needs to bury her. And now he's really getting a spot. This is one of his first spots that he's going to own. Never mind, the well that he had built. It was just the well that he had dug and that he had rights to, which is what happened with him in Abimelech. But it wasn't necessarily a possession. It was just something he had rights to. And right here, he is actually buying a piece of property. So this is telling us he pays it. We see right here that the people tell him, look, you're a mighty prince among us. Just choose any of them. They're telling him, you could have any sepulcher. Nobody is going to withhold. You're so righteous and so powerful amongst us and so looked well thought of. You're so respected in the land that nobody is going to say no to you. You could have any piece of property you want here, is what they're telling him. And of course, Abraham's being real humble, and obviously he's still real sad. He's real humble. He bows himself to the people, even to the children of Heth, is what it says. And we learn later that the Canaanites, and Heth is here shown to be one of the child of Canaan. Here he is. He's one of the Canaan. He's one of the Canaanites. These people are gonna serve the Shem. Remember, that's what the Canaan, that Japheth would dwell in the tents of Shem, and that Canaan would be servants of them. So here we have Abraham over here, part of the line of Shem, and we have Heth over here, one of the children of Canaan, and these people, the children of Heth, are saying, take whatever you want, any piece of there. They respect him. This is also getting on that road that we're going to see that the Canaanites are going to serve that line of Seth through Abraham. And here we're seeing it. This is yet another prophecy that is coming to be fulfilled. Another prophecy that God has made, that is coming true, that we're going to see these people serve Abraham in some form of another. So as he's talking with them, of course, and he says, fine, if you guys think it's okay for me, that I can buy some property here, I'm going to buy, that it's okay that I'm going to bury my dead. Hear me and entreat me to Ephron, the son of Zohar. So let's see if we see Zohar at all. Do we see Zohar up in here? I don't see Zohar's name, but he would have also been around here as well. So one of Zohar's son, and we're not seeing it in this particular image anymore. So it's children further down the line, of course, through Canaanite. But he calls Ephron the son of Zohar. And this guy, maybe he'll give me this cave of Machpelah. So this cave of Machpelah, I'm going to go ahead and search for Machpelah as we're looking in this Kirjatharba or whatever. Machpelah, Marat Hakmaphala. It's the cave. Look, they even have the cave of the patriarchs. Also called the cave of Machpelah and known by Muslims as the sanctuary of Abraham. Look, they even have this thing where they believe it's still out there. I have never looked this up. So this is the first time I'm taking a look at this myself. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take some time to run this video and see what this is all about. Turn down the volume. So there's something going on. I don't know which of these buildings. Maybe that's it. It's a big old wall. Look how big this building is. And it's all stone. I don't know what it is or where it's coming from, but visit the cave of the patriarchs in Hebron with Yehuda Glick. So he's going up here.
Been standing here for 2,000 years.
Been standing there for 2,000 years.
The wall is built with the exact same method as was built the western wall of the Temple Mount, as was built by Herod, the same person who built many other things in Israel. Caesarea, Masada, the Herodian. Here we are in this building that is standing in one piece.
Wow.
It is standing over a big grave.
Big grave.
The big cave where Abraham purchased the cave and the land. If we recall in the stories described in the book of Genesis, Ephron, who tries to receive from Abraham more money, he insists that Abraham buy not only the cave, but the land around it. And here we see this building is built on caves. We can see the outside caves over here. But the cave itself, where Abraham is buried, is right actually under the corner over here. Right above where I'm standing is the hall called the Hall of Isaac. But under it, we know now for a fact, is the double cave.
It's a double cave.
Why do I say that we know for a fact?
Yeah.
Because two people, or actually 2 times, people entered through secret entrances. There was once in 1967 a little girl named Michal who was lowered down on a rope.
Wow, they lowered a little girl.
She climbs down.
To
She
get to
walks
find
through
out.
a very dark tunnel, and she photographs whatever she sees, and then they understand the shape of the area. She finally climbs up some stairs. She counts it several times. When she climbs up, she counts 15 stairs. When she climbs down, she counts 16 stairs. But she gets back up, and we know what it looks like. In 1981, a group of students from the yeshiva, in an unbelievable way, climb down another entrance to that same place, and they get deeper than she gets, and they reach themselves inside a cave where they find remnants of clay vessels from the time of King David, and they see there also bones of bodies. They're shocked, and they come back up, and they tell the story. The vessels that they found.
So wow, so I just kind of came up this. I've never heard of this. I've never seen this. This is the first time I saw this, so I'm gonna go ahead and end that there. But yeah, you guys could see, whoever's watching, you could see that this Machpelah, and that guy said something about Ephron was trying to get more money from him. Let's see. So let's kind of see if we can understand it. Maybe that was the case, but he says, and he gets up to Heth, and he says, hear me, entreat me, call Ephron and tell him, give me the cave. Give me the cave, please. For as much money as it is worth, he shall give it to me in possession. And Ephron dwelt among, and he gets up and he says, my Lord, hear me. The field give I thee. Here's the field that I give you, and the cave that is therein. So I'll give you the field and the cave. And he says, oh, thank you. That's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. And he spoke out to Abraham, saying, but if thou wilt give it. So I'm not entirely sure why that guy said that way, but I'm not really interpreting that Ephron was trying to get more money from him. It actually looks like Ephron was trying to give it to him for free. He's trying to, here, I'm giving it to you for free. And then so he says, saying, but if thou wilt, but Abraham says, if you're going to give it to me, he goes, please hear me. Don't give it to me. Sell it to me. He goes, I'm going to give you money for the field, and I will bury my field there. And Ephron said, he says, the land is worth 400 shekels of silver, but like I said, I'm not looking for it, that money. See, just go bury your dead. And Abraham listens to him, and he weighs out the silver, 400 shekels, current money. So even though, honestly, I don't know what that guy was trying to say, that he was trying to say that Ephron wanted more money, I don't really see it that way. The way it sounds like is that Ephron didn't want any money. Ephron was trying to give it to him, but Abraham would not let him give it. He paid for it. So this is also kind of like a thing that kings should understand. Because I know, even for a fact, I'll tell you just, personally what I've come across in this life and in this world is that famous people tend to get things for free. A lot of people get things for free for some reason. I've always heard, sports people get free shoes, get free cars, get all kinds of free things. Movie stars get free stuff. But here is Abraham, and the people are trying to give him free stuff, just like what we see, in today's world, where famous and rich people get a lot of things for free. But Abraham was not going to have any of that. He was going to pay them for his troubles, for their troubles. And that's what it means. He was acting like a real life king over here. He was the king, not necessarily anybody else. Like, even these other people weren't really acting like kings, but this guy was acting like a king. And a king, guess what? A king pays. That's what he was saying. A king pays for his land, and he's paying for it. He didn't, and it looked like, so like I said, I saw this guy saying that, sounded like he said Ephron was trying to get more money than it was worth. But to me, I'm reading it, and it actually sounds like Ephron was trying to give it to him for free, and Abraham would have none of it. Abraham was paying for it. That's that's what Abraham was. That's how proper he was. That was what was righteous. That's what was good, that he pays for this land. He wasn't going to take it from them just because he was well beloved by them. He wasn't going to just take this land from Ephron. Even in his sadness, and even in his time of sorrow, he was going to say, no, I'm going to give you money, Ephron. That's what I'm going to do, because I'm buying the land from you. I don't want you to say that you gave it to me in the future. I bought it from you. I'm a citizen now. I live here. This is my land. That's what Abraham was saying. This land belongs to my wife, and so forth. So I'm not entirely sure why people say Adam was born here too. Like in here, they see, you know, it's constantly asserted, but they call it the city of the four: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Adam. So I could understand Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob being buried there, but I don't see why people throw in Adam into the mix, because I don't see it. I haven't heard that yet. I did not come across that in the Bible. I don't remember coming across that in the Bible. So the idea of it being Adam was buried there too, I mean, that would have to be coming from somewhere else that I'm not entirely sure where that comes from. But as far as I know, here it is. There's where they say, you know, people have visited this cave and they're pretty sure that that's the right cave that at least Abraham was buried in. And they said Sarah was buried down in there too. And so that's where we get the field of Ephron. Everything that was in it, all the trees that were in the field and all the borders were made sure that they were given to Abraham for possession. So everybody of the children of Heth, everybody that was in the city, everybody knew that Abraham had bought the field from Ephron, and he had bought the cave that was in it, and that he buried Sarah, his wife, there. Everybody knew. Everybody that was in Hebron, everyone that was in the area. It was a very public thing. It was very out there in the open. It was very, not just, you know, it was legal. It was righteous. It was maybe a little bit political there. But ultimately what was happening is that Abraham, who was a foreigner, was purchasing a piece of land, and that land was there in Hebron. And he was burying his wife there. And the whole field and the whole cave was his possession. Is his possession. And this very well, just like we heard God earlier making promises to Abraham that Abraham would come and his seed would come to possess the whole land. Here's his first possession. So he'd been living in the land, and yeah, he dug that well, and he had rights to at least a well out there. Remember that. But here his real first possession is this cave where he buries his dead. And apparently this cave is still out there today in the world. You can still go visit it. It's apparently out there. Look, it's got the cave up right. You can get directions over here. I'm taking a look at some directions just one more time. And look, here's that little globe map that they like to show. I don't need that. I'm gonna go back over here. Here's this. Oh, I moved it, so never mind. Macpala. So what I'm really just trying to do is get out of this. You can see it. We're moving in on Israel. We're still moving in that location. And if you remember, there's that Dead Sea. And look how this Dead Sea looks a lot different than it used to. Here we see that. But here's what it goes. So you see there's in Hebron, Beersheba, which is that same place that I think is now known as, what that was written about. They were calling it Beersheba. So yeah, that's where it is. It's still there. There he was. You can see it. We're just moving in, moving in, moving in, moving in. I mean, we could probably, quite possibly, see if they've got that, what is it called? That little dude picture. Let's see if we can see the street view. Very well might be able to see the street view. Google's been up there in their street view. And wow, look at this. They're inside. I can get inside of the cave. This is the Cave of Patriarchs. Look, they got a whole bunch of books. It's got a whole visitor center, it looks like. So this is what it's showing us, the cave. So I'm not sure. They just went in there and took a picture, but they got a full 3D picture of this place. So wow, so we see that. I'm trying to get out of it. Maybe I can get out of it, and let's see, the little man. Maybe I could put him on the street out here. Nope, we go in there. But yeah, so you could see that Cave of Patriarchs is still there in Jerusalem. You could still go out there. You can still visit it. It's a little south of Jerusalem. You follow this highway down, get off on what looks like 35 or over here, 60, Highway 60, whatever they call it. It's right there in Hebron. There's Hebron. There it is, Kiryat Arba. So she died just right there, right around here. So she died in this area and buried in here, this area. So you can see it. Very historical, still to this day, and people, like I said, are still calling this fairy tales. I don't understand why people would call these fairy tales, but this is 1,500 years or so before Jesus came around. So about 3,500 years ago, we're seeing something, over 3,000 years ago, this happened. This is, this is just what happened. It was a sad chapter. And the chapter, once again, reviewing chapter 23 of the Bible, basically Sarah dies at 127 years old. So getting closer and closer to that promise that God said they wouldn't live past 120 years old. And there in there in Hebron, she dies. And that's where Abraham makes a purchase of land. And he appears to be his first real possession there in the land of Canaan, a land that his ancestors, his seed ultimately, would come to fully possess. And that's what we're seeing, his first possession in the land that God said he would fully possess. And it took the death of his wife, but that's when it happened and that's when it occurred. And we still see it to this day, the remnants of it. It's still there. People say they saw bones as recently as the 80s, 1980s, where people were going in there and checking it out. Sure enough, they were confirming that, yep, it was a graveyard of some sort, probably the very same graveyard that we read about. That, that graveyard's been there for over 3,000 years now. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and end this chapter here. It was also kind of a short chapter, short video. I'll go ahead and ask you, whoever may be watching, please like and subscribe like the video and subscribe to the channel. And please, I pray that God blesses you, and I pray that we all bless Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ blesses all of us. Amen.